This is a short YouTube video that will show you how to add labels to your output files that you create when you analyze your data, change those labels, add notes if you want to, and also manage what you might think of as table of contents that SPSS automatically creates for you when you're doing your analyses. And this is helpful because it lets you do multiple analyses, have them in the same output file, and then open that output file later on and be able to use and navigate and use that information in a meaningful way. So let's start by opening the file, and I'm going to show you actually how to do one of the assignments that you have for your Stats 5 assignment, so you get a little demonstration of that as well. And so first I need to find my data sets, and I am going to use one of the files from, or one of the data sets from Kim and Mallory, and that is a data set from chapter 8. And it's actually it's actually matched to a figure that you'll see in the chapter 8 reading. So let's open that up. I have two screens here, so I'm going to bring it over so you can see it. And so you can see that we have two variables, weight and systolic blood pressure. These are both scale variables, so appropriate to do a scatter plot. So one of the first things you'll be doing in your assignment is looking at that scatter plot of these two variables. So as you recall, to make a scatter plot, we go to Graphs. We'll use Chart Builder. And to make a scatter plot, we select that and we drag the simple scatter plot right up here. And then we just slide our variables into these axes, and it probably doesn't really matter a lot. We used weight in the x-axis last time, so I thought I would put it here again, although this is a different data set, so you'll see a different distribution. And then we are ready to see what our graph looks like. So here we have that scatter plot. And we see this interesting distribution. So we see that most of the scatter plot is down here, that relationship between these two variables. But we see this interesting, what's called an outlier up here. So part of your assignment is related to this outlier and what to do about what we call an outlier. One of the things I'd like you to notice is this output, this log of what you're doing. So now we have, when we click on this, we can see that this says what we did. We have the title here. If we double click on notes, we'll see that it's left a record of what you did. And you may want to, you can add these notes to your output by double clicking on that. And this can be useful when you're analyzing your data and you want to save a record of what you've done. So let's do the next step, and then we'll go back and take another look at this, what we can think of as table of contents. So the next thing that you're asked to do in this analysis is to do a correlation. And that's an analysis, so you go to your Analyze tab, you find correlation, and you are asked to do a bivariate correlation, so we click on that. We want to move both of those variables over here because we're going to look at the relationship between weight and systolic blood pressure, and you're asked to run a Pearson correlation, which is appropriate for scale data, and to use a two-tailed test of its significance. You'll read about all of this before you actually do it yourself. Now let's take a look at what our options are. We always like to look at our options, right? You can request means and standard deviations at the same time you do this. We'll forget about this second box for now. We're not reading about that right now. And then if you have a missing value. Often you have more than 2 variables in a data set. And if you're doing a correlation between 2 and you have a missing data for 1, you'd always want to exclude pairwise. And that'll become more clear later on as you do more analyses. So now we're ready to see what our correlation results look like. So this is a correlation table that you see right here. These are our means and our standard deviations and our samples. How many cases were in each of those. So we see, no missing data for one versus another. And here we see this correlation, and that it's highly significant. Highly significant. And so it's under 0.001, and we'll talk more about that. There aren't enough zeros to say exactly how significant it is, and it's correlated. So let's look over here and notice that it's added that analysis over here. And you can look at that log, you can look at your results, and you can look at your correlations. And you can make notes on these. So if you want to label this output, if you want to label what you've done, you could specify that this is for stats assignment number 5, question 4. And you have a little way to remind yourself that this is there. Obviously, these would be the correlations from that assignment. So you can figure out a way of labeling these in the event that you find that helpful. The other way that you can label things is you can click here, and if you double click, you can add notes to this. And this can be helpful too. And then, I'm not sure if any of you made an attempt to do this, but it is quite easy, and here we're just going to minimize our windows. If you don't have a monitor at home and you use your computer a lot, larger monitors don't cost that much, and they make working on your computer very easy. So here I'm just going to slide over this stats assignment number 5 that I'm working on right now and almost done with. And it says note this outlier. But notice how easy it is to simply copy, select, copy, and then just paste that image right into your Word document. So that is another easy way if you're recording what you're doing, or if you're creating a report, or creating, even in your results section. It's easy to copy and paste those results there. You can also do the same with your table. And what's cool about a table is once you get it into Word, once you get your table into Word like this, let's insert a page break. There we go. Once you have a table inserted into Word, you can go in and use table editing functions. And we've selected that table, so you can go in and change the width or height of your rows. You can auto fit. I like to do that, auto fit to contents. Sometimes that's very useful. And you can also go in and add borders or take borders away. You can change the shading. You can delete a column if you don't want that to show up in whatever table you're making. So this is very useful to copy and paste these in a way that lets you shape them up for whatever use you want to use them for. So I'm going to go back. And I think that's pretty much concludes the main points that I wanted to cover in this short, 10-minute YouTube.